All right, everyone. Thank you for joining our fourth session for our Coinology series. I'm excited that we are still here and we're still pushing through this. This week, we are still going to have a very interactive session. However, I do want to kind of do a little bit of more of a lecture this week. But I do want to stop in between each one of the topics to talk about them a little bit more and you guys to ask questions as we go through it. But I think it's important that in between some of our case study examples and our work, we do focus a little bit on some of the lecture to ensure that we're growing and we're processing the information. So this week for our fourth session, we're going to talk about, you know, all of the things that an entrepreneur should know. And so at surface, these things may sound like items that you feel like, oh, I already know this. The question is, are you actually applying this? Are you actually doing it? And do you really truly believe in those principles when you say you already know it? So those are some of the things we're going to talk about. And we're also going to talk about why these things are important and why it's so important that you follow these steps and not just know the steps, but actually live by them and follow them. Okay? So the first one, we're going to talk about the number one item that an entrepreneur should know is no one is worthwhile. So let's think like this. There is no one idea or solution that someone can steal from you. So, and what I mean by that is I talk to so many people on here and off of here that are so vague about what their business idea is that you can't help them. It's a secret. And it's so secretive that it's stunted. It won't grow. And then you want to know why I can't get the support, why I'm not growing, why no one would invest. And it's primarily because they don't know what it is that you do. A lot of us feel that we have to put everything under a lock and key and that someone is running off ready to steal our, great ideas if we are Sherlock Holmes and we are the only one with that idea. Keep in mind that most ideas that each of us have, someone else has come up with that similar idea as well. So many times when those ideas come up, the difference between you and them is one, if you actually move forward with executing it, and then two is how you execute and what you do. Myself and Ayana could be in the exact same field, but I'm going to do it differently than Ayana, and Ayana's going to do it differently than me. And so I can give you all the ingredients, but it doesn't mean it's going to come out the same. So what I will caution folks of is being so secretive that you kill your own project. Make sure that you have the right mechanisms in place where your ideas are trademark or copywritten, that you have the right NDAs in place. By all means, though, you have to start sharing. You have to start talking. You won't know who can help you, and you won't know how much a person can help you until you start talking. You'll be surprised at how many people out there are looking to invest or be a part of or know someone that can help you in a specific area until you talk about it. And I know there's quite a few of us that are on this line right now that fear that. Anybody want to share what some of their fears are around sharing their ideas so that we can kind of push through those fears and address them? Anybody want to share their fears around sharing ideas?
Okay. I'll go. This is Ayana.
Okay.
So I'm not so concerned about like my general jewelry business and the designs of what they are. I guess the the offshoot of that, the bling fling, because I'm doing a little bit different. Typically, for jewelry making parties or classes, it's usually geared towards kids.
Hmm.
But as I start to explore that, I saw the opportunity more in like the adult realm and the wellness community, like these different spaces and veins where people may want like to do icebreakers or corporate functions. Remember, IEC reached out to me some years ago when I was doing this to possibly come in and do something for a corporate activity. So I don't necessarily see a lot that people do it for corporate, but I don't see a lot of them like really focusing and making the adult side of it their target. And my concern is that, if I talk about it too much before I actually really get it going, somebody may possibly say, oh, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to take it and take this particular angle she's working with and run with it.
Okay. And so for one, let's think about it like this. I can see that fear being with someone that may be in the jewelry business, right? But not someone like myself that's not in the jewelry business, because you can talk about it to me a gazillion times and gazillion ways, and I still can't do it because I'm not a jewelry maker. And then those who are jewelry makers, number one, may not have the communication skills that you have, or may not be able to deliver it the way you do, or may not have the personal skills in that customer service way of doing it. What I will say though, there's a big difference between consistently talking about something and actually executing on it. So one of the things I tell people about, don't talk too long. I mean, don't, and we know this, and y'all know we talk about this all the time. That idea comes, move with it. So as long as you are moving and
Right.
making those contacts, don't worry, because you don't know who is sitting out there, Yana, that's looking to invest. From events that you've had in the past, you've had folks from Russia and other places reach out to you specifically because of people talking.
Right. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So we can't be so afraid. I think that now you should be afraid, period, if you're not progressing. If you have this idea and you're sitting on it, even if you don't open your mouth, that idea was not only planted in your head, it was planted in multiple people's head at that time, and you just have to act quicker. I remember seeing something where Michael Jackson had an interview. This is when he was alive and kicking, and he was at 2020, and in the interview he talked about in the middle of the night he would get the ideas for his songs. And he said that he would not be able to sleep through the night. That's what started his ability from having issues sleeping through the night. But he said he couldn't sleep through the night because as those ideas were coming into his head, he knew that God, quote unquote, God was dropping those same ideas into Prince's head, Prince, the other entertainer. And he said, I had to get to it first before he released it. So in other words, what he's saying is, and maybe it was Prince, it could have been Bruce Springsteen, it could have been anybody else. But what he's saying is, I know that when this great idea comes, I'm not the only person who gets this idea. It's all about who acts on it first.
The way you just presented that makes total sense to me,
Mm-hmm.
because there are nights when I cannot rest because I close my eyes, there's a design. I close my eyes, there's a very specific jewelry related idea,
Mm-hmm.
and I can't rest, and it's until I get up and write it down and put it down or get some wire or something and start creating it. It's just like it's a rush, it's a push. Like if you don't get up and do this now, somebody else is gonna do it. So when you put it in that vein, that makes total sense to me. So okay, it makes sense.
And I'm going to say this, the leaders of industries don't snooze. When you get ideas and things come to your mind, you must act. Don't snooze.
Got it.
All right. So we're going to go to number 2, unless anybody else has any comments about that number 1 principle. All right. Number 2.
I was going to say too, because you know, in my industry, the real estate industry, everybody's in competition. I'm with the office, and you know, we have meetings and stuff, and you know, we'll talk about the things that they do. But one thing that our owner says is that he doesn't mind dropping his jewels because only 3%, it could be 1 million people in that building, and everybody taking notes, writing down everything he says to do. But only 3% of those agents are going to walk away and actually put in the work and do it.
Yep.
So, I don't have a problem with sharing with agents first coming on the scene the things I do, because for one, my clients already trust me, and you know, there's nothing they can do to take my clients away from me. So I always look at things as building relationships and keeping relationships. You could talk about things all day to people and they could take your idea, but if you already have those relationships in place, then they're not gonna, you know, everybody can succeed in whatever business. There's money out here for everybody. And as long as you have your relationships and the people that you have the relationships trust you, they can't take them anywhere. So that's how I look at it.
That's so true. So true, because you said a mouthful. You said several things. Number 1, a small percentage. So if you have 10 people, only 1 person in that group of 10 is going to implement what was taught to them. So maybe you guys are that lucky 10%, because we have roughly 236 people in our group. And so in that group, how many of you guys we have on today? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We have 10. So we have less than 10% of you guys on. So that's the same percentage, a little less than the percentage than what Joan and I were talking about. You can present this information. This information that I'm presenting right now, people pay money to get this information. You're giving this information out, but only a small fraction of people are actually taking the time to join the session, participate in the exercises, and communicate with each other. So let yourselves be one of the lucky 10% that actually take action on moving forward. The other part about that Joan mentioned is about the competition. Almost every field that you're in today, you're going to have a lot of competition, because the world of the internet and social media has made things so much more visible, more easily accessible, and easy to learn. You can't focus so much about I'm the only person, but focus more so on how do you make your product different, how do you separate yourself, and how to provide excellent customer service at all times. All right, now we're gonna go to number 2. Number 2 is so important to me because we talk about this all the time. I think a lot of people struggle with number 2 because they don't quite understand what I mean when I talk about this. But number 2 is more so, if you're not committed, you are not an entrepreneur, you've just got a hobby.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say that again. If you're not committed, you're not an entrepreneur, you just have a hobby. Some people think that being an entrepreneur means that you have to do it 24/7. That's your 9 to 5. If I work a 9 to 5 and still do my entrepreneur endeavors, I'm not a real entrepreneur, blah, 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 blah. None of that. If you're not 100% committed to your entrepreneurial gains, then you're not an entrepreneur. It's a hobby. And what that committed means is that it comes first. It means that it comes first when someone asks you what it is that you do. It means that when people ask you where your financial support goes, when you're up in the middle of the night, where you spend most of your time, where do you put most of your sacrifices? If you find that most of your sacrifices are placed into your 9 to 5, if you find that most of your sacrifices are always pointed towards that way, and that your entrepreneurial endeavor suffers because of your 9 to 5 or something else, then you're going to struggle because you're not 100% committed in that space. You have to be committed to what you're doing in order to be successful, period. So if you're going to work a 9 to 5, know that you have to put in at least 8 hours a day in your own business to grow it, to build it. So if that means you work 8 hours during the day, can you come home and put 8 hours in at night? Can you make up for those 8 hours on the weekend that you would have normally put in during the week? How do you, what sacrifices are you willing to put in to be completely and unadulterated committed to your business? So anybody want to share any struggles that they have with that number 2 principle as far as being completely committed to what they do? Because the reality is we all face life. We all, there's some of us, who may have kids in college, bills to pay, this and that. Anybody want to share?
I want to share.
Okay, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. I'm Angela. I am struggling. I had the same conversation with my husband a couple of hours ago because I feel like I need to work, which is the investor to the things that I have to go. But after working the 12, 13 hours, I'm too tired, and I end up sleeping half of the day away to get myself ready in order to push toward my life coaching business. And so I feel like I done been off like 2 or 3 days, and none of the tasks that need to be complete has gotten done. So I had reached out and paid a social media coach, and when I started from scratch with starting a Instagram page for Angela Metamorphosis Coach, and I noticed that I only got one potential client, but I did not close the deal.
Now, why do you feel that you did not close the deal?
I don't know when I talked to the social media coach today, because it was the end of my 30-day trial, which he told me he was going to monitor me till I got to 1,000. But I noticed that the followers started dropping off. I had got up to almost 950, 970, and when I looked, I was I was at 920. And I was like, hey, what's going on? And he said, well, Angie, you're not being consistent. He said, well, you can either do one or two things. You can pay me again for another 30 days, because he was helping in doing like automated response and sending automated response when people like the page or like a post or whatever. He would send an automated message to them. And I know, like you just said, I wasn't 100% committed. So, and I'm just feeling bad because and I know it wasn't money wasted because I appreciate the help. But I was like, I got to do better. And, I got to come back to the drawing board because this is not working.
So one thing I'll tell you is, and I see we have some other hands up. Let me just say this to you, Angela. One of the best things that ever happened to me is when I lost the deal. And when I was honest enough to look at why I lost it, when I did not blame because I was a woman, because I was Black, because I'm strong and they're intimidated, but actually sat down and studied what I could have done differently. And the best thing you can do at the very beginning is quote unquote fail, because that helps you build and structure your process for success. So, number one, don't keep paying a coach that won't tell you how to fix it. Okay. So you need to study what you could have done differently, even if it means reaching out to the potential client and finding out what could I have done differently in the future, if that person is willing to share that information with you. Some of us are so sensitive when things don't work out our way that a lot of times we don't even want to have that conversation, and not having that conversation is doing yourself the biggest disservice, because that is what will build your business to a multi-million-dollar status. Every time, if I lose a client, if I lose a deal, I look for that as an opportunity to help me sharpen the knife, sharpen it and get better. And I come back out like Muhammad Ali. And I'm like, you're not going to get me like that again. All right. So that's number one. But if you are with a coach that continues to just say, oh, just pay me, just keep paying me and instead of, teaching you. But at the same token, they may be teaching you. You just admitted to that you're not being 100% committed. So when you're not 100% committed to something, I don't care how many coaches you have. I don't care how many conferences you go to. I don't care. You're going to waste money because your commitment level. And it's so funny how many times I meet people who assume that just because they're in your presence, I bought your books, I'm rubbing elbows with you, that you're it's going to automatically be some type of hocus pocus that's going to fly off, and all of a sudden the same thing is going to happen for me. No, the hidden secret is in you. Okay. Just let me go to Tasha first. Tasha, I see you have your hands up. Did you have something you wanted to say?
Yes. Hey everyone. About commitment. I have to be like painfully honest.
Mm-hmm.
So, commitment to my dream cost me a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
I also feel like it's created some struggles in my life. I also feel that it helped ruin my marriage. I know that he could have been better.
Mm-hmm.
But whenever, so I had a plan, right? What I did at my job or my career was I created action plans for different departments. So I created a plan for myself, right? So I created a plan in January like I would do everybody else, but I created it for myself, and everything didn't work out the way I planned it. And we experienced extreme struggle so bad that it affected my children because they weren't used to being poor, because we got poor. And we struggled. I promise you, like, somebody said, I remember being with one of my friends at this political event, and she's like, oh, so you done went to the poorhouse now. And it broke my heart because she was right. I literally struggled, and I've experienced some struggle, like I started pursuing my dreams full time in 2014 in June. And I mean, Ebony, it was awful. I mean, awful. And I'm on the way back up, and my credit got bad. I lost some things, and my husband was like, he wasn't my ex-husband, excuse me. He wasn't the best. Okay. I'm not saying it's all my fault, but I'm telling you, like, he would be calling me broke. Like, why are you doing this? It just became extreme. Like, you don't make the money that you anticipate to make whenever you first step out and do it, and that was the problem. So now that I had started making money, things have turned around, but I feel like I ruined everyone's life. I feel like I ruined my marriage. I feel like I ruined my children. Like, my children, I hate even admitting this. This is so awful. But like, so my kids struggled so hard. Like, they didn't understand being poor. So it created problems for them. Do you know what I mean? Like, problems.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not saying we were super, super poor, but I'm saying that they didn't understand struggle.
Mm-hmm.
So we went through the struggle, we made it out, and we're stronger now. You know, I even had to get them therapy, like, so they could bounce back. You know, it was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my problem with commitment, that I have to maintain a 9-to-5 job so I can make sure that I can maintain the lifestyle that my children are accustomed to, so we don't fall off ever again.
And Tasha, first of all, I want to say thank you so much for being so transparent, because you don't know how many people on this line right here you have probably released something in them for them.
I'm
to
like
say,
crying right now because it was awful.
Tasha, let me say this. And when you speak it, like we said a couple of weeks ago, when you speak it and you release it, it can no longer hold you bondage anymore.
Yeah.
It can no longer hold you bondage. But let me say, and I tell people this is the thing about entrepreneurship. There is no such thing as skipping the steps. We all, whether we talk about it or not, we all have to walk the same path, unless you were born like Donald Trump or the Kardashians or something with a silver spoon in your mouth. But if you are building from scratch, you are sacrificing something now for dream later. And the importance of the commitment is, if you're not committed, then you would have went through that struggle for nothing. Now, having a 9-to-5 does not mean that you can't be committed to your dream. It just means that you have now added another additional layer to what you're trying to produce, but you cannot lose the commitment to your dream. So let's talk, Tasha. How are you ensuring that you maintain your commitment? What are you doing to ensure that does not die?
Well, first things first, I wrote down some personal goals. Like, I started off with me emotionally, because my marriage obviously broke me down completely.
Mm-hmm.
So once I started going to therapy, I started, just getting it out, because I hold a lot in. People will look at my Facebook and be like, "Oh, you post everything." No, I don't. I didn't tell you that I was homeless. I didn't tell you that I got broke. I didn't tell you everything. I told my therapist. So then I got the therapy. I most recently made another commitment to God. We got baptized. So I felt like spiritually I'm back where I need to be. And then I had to decline a lot of opportunities for work, for career, because I had to get the right career that's going to complement my dreams, because you just can't work any job that so you can continue to pursue your dreams. And I found that out. So I had to get the right career that complemented my dreams, because if not, then you'll find yourself more indulged in career than in your dream. So I finally, with God blessed me with that most recently. So what else I am doing is I'm doing things like attending this, which helps me maintain like just some focus. I'm not saying it's all your responsibility to help me, but every now and then, and everything that you talk about doesn't apply to me, but every now and then I pick up something that helps me in my journey from you. So I decided that, and people don't know this, that I'm related to you, but it's really hard just being in the same realm with someone that we don't do the same things, but we kind of do. But I had to like say, pride, goodbye, I can learn, because I didn't want to say, it's not that I'm even in competition, it's just that I wanted to make my own path. I never ever told anybody I was related to you. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody knows you kill it in Atlanta, and people talk about you here, but I never told anyone. So I finally just let go of myself, saying I can learn from her. So you have to sometimes put your yourself humble yourself, you know, where you can take things from other people, even if those people are kin to you, you know. And I did that, and so I learned I started just learning so much by really not that I was ignoring, but I had to make my own path first. But now I pay attention to things that can help me. So that's what I'm doing now. That's totally different. How I can continue to pursue my dreams and keep myself afloat is by learning. Sometimes continuing growth and education doesn't always come from college or you know, whatever. It can come from somebody that's far more successful than you, but it has to be real success, because more people offer what you offer. But I know for a fact that you have, you know, I know it's real. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I'm doing this year, is taking help and looking at the leader, for example. And that's helping me a lot, because I see you making accomplishments, and it helps me grow. It helps me grow. It gives me confidence that I can still continue to pursue my dreams. We're not the same person, and we don't have the same life, and we're not the same, you know, in the same place. But I feel like you can learn from other people, and that's the difference in me this year versus any other year I've been in business. I'm smarter now. I'm able to humble myself in my moves. I don't attach myself to everything and anybody anymore, and I focus on myself. I had to step down from a few roles and pass up opportunities so I can primarily focus on the goal.
And that's one of the things I will say. You said something extremely important. I see Veronica just stated it too. We can do so much, guys, if we collaborate versus compete. Because when we put on our hats of collaboration, we're there to support one another, and we ensure that no one is left behind. And that is one of the main premises that Coinology is built on. It's built on, if you do the work, if you apply it, you will not be left. I won't let you be left behind, and the folks in the group won't. When they see you struggling, they're going to reach out to see how they can help. And but you have to do the work. So like I said before, we have 236 people in this group. If you don't come to the sessions, I can't help you. If you don't do the homework sessions, I can't help you. If you don't reach out, I can't help. So you made a really good point there, Tasha, by taking the initiative to say, listen, I want to participate and see, because if we keep doing the same thing year after year after year, we're going to get the same results. So when we start doing something new, we'll see new things. And I really appreciate you sharing that, because I think that, again, you're releasing other people on this line from things that you don't even know. Our transparency is what propels us to the next level. All right, so we're going to move on to number 3. All right, number 3, find humility and have a sense of humor. This goes back to what Tasha was just saying and what Angela was just saying. When we go through hardships, disappointments, pain, you can't stay there. You must be humble. You must exhibit humility, and then have a sense of humor about it, where you can look at it later on in life, giggle about it, and move on. But you cannot stay there. The moment that you start to waddle in pain and stay there, you're not going to grow in business. Being successful in business, it requires you to shift your mindset. I talked about that last week with Dr. Mila. I shared with her, I don't know how many of you guys saw the video, but I shared with her that if I really thought about what I was risking every single day being an entrepreneur, I wouldn't be able to sleep at night. But I don't think about things that way. I've shifted. Like when you become an entrepreneur, you have to shift your mindset in order to walk this life and be completely sane, because we get up every day not knowing. There's no guarantee of a check. There's no guarantee of anything. You don't know. You're getting up and you're walking at the most ultimate amount of faith that you could possibly ever have. And sometimes you win and sometimes you lose. But you have to be able to get up, bounce off of that, have some people that you can talk to. See, this is the thing. One of the things I love that I heard Tasha say is that she has a therapist. And I heard Angela say she had a coach. What most of us do is we sit into a room and we waddle alone. We don't talk to people because we're too ashamed to let people know that we're struggling here or we're failing here, and you don't ask for help, and then you completely just give up. So it's very, I'm sorry, did someone say something? Did someone say something? So it's very, very, very important that we exhibit that as we continue with our walk. Did anybody want to share anything in regards to being humble, showing humility, and ensuring that you have a sense of humor as things happen along this journey? Don't be so hard on yourself where you beat yourself up so much that you paralyze yourself from trying again.
Ebony, am I unmuted?
Yes.
Okay, so you already know what I went through last year.
Mm-hmm.
And that just brought me to our conversation when I was going through it, how you said I just seemed numb to it because I wasn't, I don't know, I guess we have that sense of strength that we just, and that's just my motto. Like, I never try to play the victim or woe is me. And I know, and as I think Tasha, who just spoke, I have a therapist as well, but I also have friends and family that I'm very open with the struggles that I struggle with. And it helps me to get up every day and continue the things that I know I have to do, because like you said, if I don't get up and go to work, I won't have a check. So, and that will keep me up at night. So yeah, so I really, this one really spoke to me just because of everything I went through last year, and we're in a new year and I'm just leaving that last year, and I did well last year, so prayerfully, without any of those setbacks that I had last year, hopefully I could supersede what I did last year. So, and I wanted to thank you because you were one of the first people that I opened up and talked to about it, and you were there and checking on me. And so people always say check on your strong friends, but if you're that strong friend, you have to also let people know what's going on, because if they don't know, they won't know. So you always want to let them know, because we fight all kind of demons, being women in general. But if you don't let it out, if you don't have that person that you can talk to, everybody has their own life, and not saying that they shouldn't check on you, but people go through life and they just forget to check on you, and then you'll look up and it's 6 months in a year and you're like, wow, I haven't achieved any of my goals because I've been sitting in this, or I've been trying to deal with this. And you never know who you could have talked to that could have got you up and motivated you to get up and get out of it. So this really spoke to me.
Good.
I just want to say that.
Good.
Ebony, Ayana.
Okay.
I wanted to share. And Ebony, you'll remember this. Last year, Ebony gave us an assignment. I think it was like our second or third Coinology group assignment to come up with our personal brand statement. Mm-hmm. And it was, Ebony actually just ordered this particular item for me, this necklace. And I always wanted my jewelry to be something that would motivate people, not just something that's pretty. Mm-hmm. And at the time, something happened. My daughter had been sick, and then my brother hit me with some really horrible news that just left me in the darkest place. And it's the darkest place I've ever been in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And that particular necklace, it was about, finding light in the darkness. And I couldn't, for the life of me, I tried to sculpt my piece out. It wasn't working. And then we had this homework assignment, and I'm like, I ain't feeling this homework assignment. Like, I could not believe my own height. I just couldn't get with it. And then something just hit me as I started working on the pieces, like really just said, I got to shake this off of me. And I got really deep into my craft and my business and what I was trying to do. And then there's a shift. And as I worked, I began to see what it was that I actually bought the because I couldn't believe my own hype. Like, how am I supposed to make something to motivate somebody when, I can't motivate myself right now. I just could not pull myself out of it. And when I finished the pieces, sent them to Ebony, and then at the point we had the assignment that was due, and I had to be very transparent in what I wrote, and it actually ended up being therapeutic for me because I realized that I got to a place where I realized that it wasn't just me saying that it was to motivate people or to encourage people. It was true to life, personal, hit home. It's a healing type of thing. And I wouldn't have gotten to that if I had not gone through the challenge. And also if I had not been open enough to share in that moment for that assignment. Because I was just like, the hell with all this stuff. I mean, I was done. And it was just like 2018 was just this beat up.
Mm-hmm.
But I always go back to that. And I've shared that with some people here recently. And they're like, that's powerful. That you need to this needs to be everywhere. But I didn't realize that something could have that impact. I knew I wanted it to have that type of impact, but I didn't know it could really have that type of impact until I found myself in a situation to need to be pulled up out of the valley and pulled out of the darkness.
Mm-hmm.
So, you gotta you gotta be transparent and show up and show yourself.
Mm-hmm. Very true. Thank you so much, Ayana, for sharing that. And I see Tawana, I think you had your hand up. Did you want to share something? You may want to take your phone off mute.
Okay. There it is. So my issue is I'm one of those people, like, when someone has something going on, I'm super supportive. I support everybody, even if it's not something that I would particularly use. I was like, oh, I may know somebody who could use it, or, I'm that type of person. And it's like I never get that type of support. And it irritates me because I've paid out thousands of dollars to help people and promote their business and support them and buy stuff. And I just cannot get the same support. And it used to infuriate me like so much. At one point, I had just stopped doing my business. I was like, forget it. I'm not going to do it anymore because I can't get the support that I need. Like, I paid PR people and marketing and all that kind of stuff, and nothing was ever just coming together.
Mm-hmm.
And I just had to, when I took my little break, I was like, okay, you know what? Fine. They don't want to support me. I don't care. So I started getting my clothes for myself, and I would just wear them. Every day I just wear something different. I would order a new shirt every week. I'd have something new. So I was just wearing it myself, and I would take pictures. And my motivation was, nobody's going to support you if you don't support you. So I can't ask you to wear my clothes if I'm not wearing my clothes.
And you're saying a mouthful right there. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that one. That's one of our points later on in this session. So I don't know if we'll get to it today, or we may have to continue the lecture into next week. But I will tell you that is one of our sessions about going down this journey, because this journey is lonely. I talk about this all the time, that it's lonely here. You will find the higher up you go, the lonelier it gets. The more paranoid you feel. Your trust becomes little to almost none. And it's scary sometimes. And so that's what I tell people. When you ask for this life, be sure you truly understand what you're coming up against, because the higher up you go, the more daggers you have, the more people who, even they may like some of the clothes that you have, may not support your business because they don't want to see you succeed. But we'll talk a little bit more about that and how to overcome that later on, and we get to some of the other ones. But what you're going through, Tawana, is very common for what you consider successful people. Very common. You're going to find that the more successful you get, you're going to find that people are going to not like you. You're going to find that people will just start unfriending you on Facebook, not because you said or did anything to them. They just don't want to see your success. You will find that people will block you because they don't want to see your success. You will find that you may not be invited to events with your friends anymore, or you may be left out of family events, all because you are going after your dream. So you have to be ready for that. Because again, one of the things I mentioned before, I think it was Angela when I said, there are steps that we all must walk. You can't skip the steps. The process can't be skipped. You will experience those things the more successful you become.
Now, fortunately for me, everybody in my family has some article of my merchandise. Well, my mom is my biggest fan. Every time I put out something new, she buys it. My dad, he wears the shirts, he wears the hats, he wears it everywhere. It's just like all my friends are like, oh, you have this great idea, why don't you do this? And they haven't bought anything. But now my family is super supportive, because we all have our own different businesses, so we support each other. So
well, one of the things I'll tell you is, Tawana, is that in business, and I talked about this last year during my Coinology cluster tour, you cannot depend on friends and family. If your business model is built on friends and family supporting your business and being your customers and clients, you're going to fail. So number one, the expectations of family and friends, like I mentioned to someone last year, when I launched my first book, I was not waiting on family and friends to purchase it. Number one, I would have just never sold a book. But number two, not because they may not have wanted to support me, but family, they thinking you're giving everything for free. And all of that stuff. You can't depend on that, honey. You got to kind of move, to the next one. But let me move because it's 9:20. We have 10 minutes left. So I want to see if I can get through as many as I can. Number 4, don't be a narcissist. When you are an entrepreneur, you should be building a product or service that helps and supports others. It should be about service or solving the problems of others. If you are becoming an entrepreneur, so you can say, look at me, look at me, look at me, look at my new Louboutins, look at my new purse, look at my new car, look at me, look at me, look at me. I think some of you guys probably see a lot of that on Instagram, where Tasha was saying how you got so many people who claim to be successful, but all you see is, look at me. Look at my Rolls Royce. Look at me on the beach. Look at me. Look at me. And when you're a narcissist, you might as well just go ahead and go to Hollywood. Just go ahead and be a superstar. But trying to be an entrepreneur and being a narcissist will not work. Because number one, you're not creating a service that will help others. And number two, you're just creating an image that's not real. It's not sustainable. So you have to be humble enough to pull up your sleeves and do the work and serve others. So ask yourself, what problem am I solving for other people? How am I making other people feel? How am I, for instance, Ayana, when she creates her jewelry, She's being therapeutic for herself, but the end product is making her clients feel a way when they receive it. Joan is helping individuals purchase their first home. She's helping people accomplish a goal. She's giving them confidence in that process. She's solving a process. She's making them feel a way. So Tawana, one of the things I would say to you is your marketing and your branding and your products, making sure that you put something in place to make people feel a way when they shop with you, when they purchase your things, when they wear. It's not just wearing a flash. Like when you go to a brand, there should be a feeling that you get from that brand. So think about that as you're creating your product or your service. How does it make others feel? What problem am I solving? And how am I serving other people? All right, so we got through 4 of those so far. We still have, look at my notes here, 5 more. So what we're going to do is I'm going to save the other 5 for next week. This week, what I would like for you guys to do as part of your homework is out of those first 4, and I know we went deep, and we'll take as long. I never rush through assignments. I think you guys know that. I had a specific assignment here for you guys to talk about monetization of your business, but I want to take our time and get through these and make sure we're actually learning through this. But out of the 4 steps that we talked about in today, I want you to identify which one of those 4 actually relate to you and why. Okay, so that's what your homework assignment is. So meaning if it relates to you, meaning that's something that you feel, you know you should be doing more, and you're going to implement this year. So it's one thing, like we started off at the beginning of the session, the things I'm about to talk about are not things that are brand new that you've never heard of before. You may have heard of them, but this time we're going to look deep into it and determine how do we actually implement these steps into our own businesses this year. So I want you to go back and look. If you took notes, great. If not, that means you have to go back and look at the video again. But I need you guys, those 4 attributes that we talked about. It's 4 out of 9. I want you to talk about which one of those 4 attributes relate to you and how you plan to implement them or it this year in your business. And some of you guys have already started sharing today, so it's pretty much just taking that and actually being able to put a little blurb together in our assignment. I will put this under Unit 4, under units. I think you guys know where it is. So you will go there and you will do your assignment like we always do. Start off with your name, email address, and then your assignment underneath there. Just to remind, I think you guys will see, we start our subscription base of Coinology. The Coinology University starts in February. So you'll start getting some information from Joycelyn to make sure that you guys are registered and ready to go for that. So because we're going to kick off the whole Intentionally Winning course. Intentionally Winning is around a 7-month curriculum that we walk through the entire book in detail. So it's one thing about reading the book and you may, I read the book in 2 days, but this time we're going to break down each segment of the book, sort of like what we're doing right now with assignments, etc., to walk through so that at the end of that book and at the end of the curriculum, you are intentionally winning in business. So that starts on February 1st. If you have questions about enrolling, please see myself or Joycelyn and we'll get you all squared away with that. And then if you are in the Tidewater area, Tidewater, Virginia, we will be coming there February the 10th. And so we are going to have our mastermind session. Our Coinology cluster tour kicks off there. So inbox us or register online. You should see the links on our site as well for registering to attend. So I appreciate you guys joining today. I will have this posted later on tonight. And then LaShondra will have the overview of everything up no later than tomorrow morning. So thank you everyone for joining, and we will talk again next week. Thank you.